So Dr. Malie Coyne, a clinical psychologist who joined us last night for our event with parents, supporting parents as they face into the summer months, the challenges they're experiencing. And overall, what did you feel about it? What was your appreciation of where parents are at and the challenges they're facing?
Well, I really enjoyed last night, first of all, Liam. I think it's great that parents joined in for it, particularly during the summer when obviously there's plenty of other things for them to be doing. But we felt it was important to have the event because to kind of help parents of children of this age, 6 to 11, which we feel maybe we haven't been kind of maybe addressing their needs as much over the last few months. We've been focused more on maybe the older age group. But the challenges that parents were telling us about were about like how they feel coming into the summer months, there's less structure than there was before. For the last few months, they've had more, they've had the bit of schoolwork to do with their kids. They've had the school hub on TV. And I suppose as they come out of that and into the summer months, they're wondering how much structure to put into their children's lives, and that the loss of structure is difficult for them. And so I suppose I would have said to parents last night that I think it's important to mark that this is the summertime and we're not getting these emails from school anymore. For many of us, we're saying thankfully we're not, but that it's okay to still have a bit of a structure in our day, because we all benefit from having that bit of structure. And some parents might have mentioned continuing on doing a tiny bit of less difficult schoolwork with their kids, maybe who were enjoying it, or a bit of reading time. And I suppose to keep us all sane, because it all seems a bit samey. There's been a relentlessness in the last few months of having being off the 12th of March. Little did we know that we would literally be off with our children for the 6 months ahead. So that's been difficult. So to almost introduce this change into your children's lives and into your lives, where you acknowledge that it is the summertime, and but it's okay yet also to have that bit of structure running through your day.
And I presume side by side with that, in terms of the months we have come through, is the uncertainty about the months that are coming as well. And I know we
Yes.
can never control the future, but there's a lot of talk in the media about when schools will open, how they're going to do it. All of that, I presume, is feeding into pressure or anxiety or something for lots of people.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think we've been, parents indicated, and I think a lot of people are feeling like this at the moment. When we had the lockdown, we were a lot clearer on what was required of us. We weren't clear on how the virus would go. We weren't clear on when would our kids go back to school, but there was some clarity on how things would go. But I think at the moment it's really hard for parents, because every parent has a different point of view, and parents around us about what is safe and what is not safe to do. It's harder to get out with our kids because there's no toilets, even practical things like that. And I think when you're, as a human being, when you're facing uncertainty, and a lot of things are actually uncertain about our lives anyway, but when we're facing uncertainty, it's really important to keep balance in our lives. And they say that keeping a balance of pleasure, achievement, and closeness and connection seems to be something we really need. All of us need to feel a sense of enjoyment in our day, whatever that is. And achievement, it's about kind of being able to achieve something even tiny in our day. It could be as small as managing to tick something off the list, do something that you've been meaning to do, but really, really small. And then having that closeness and connection with other people, obviously keeping that physical distancing in mind. But I think when there is a lot of uncertainty, to be taking little baby steps and to be focusing on what you can control in your family life, rather than, we don't know what's going to happen with schools in September. We don't know how this virus is going to be in the next few months. But remembering that you have survived the last few months, you have been incredibly adaptive in surviving, working and being with your kids and the uncertainty. So I have no doubt that you can continue to, but just to know that there are supports out there, and to rely on the people that you love and that you trust, and to seek further support if you need.
You spoke last night about what people should retain in terms of what worked well in the lockdown that might be a
Yeah,
feature of their new lives.
yeah.
And I suppose that's not necessarily a novel way of looking at it, but it's a very helpful way of looking at it for people, that not everything was bad in the last 6 months or 4 months.
Absolutely. There was a quote that really resonated with me that I saw, Liam, that said, "What parts of normal are worth rushing back to?" And what resonated with me about that quote was about the rushing back to. And it kind of, parents definitely said last night that they felt like their lives had become very busy, before this whole COVID and lockdown happened, and that they felt that they were, rushing around, rushing their kids around. Even the weekend had become a time not of rest, but of busyness. And one parent even reported, going to 3 birthday parties in one day and feeling at the end of that day, was that really worth it? Did I, was that good for our family life? So I think what people really indicated, and there was a strong resonating kind of voice from the people last night, from the parents who attended, who said that the importance of the family bond was very strong the last few months. We all had to rely on each other, survive this together, encourage each other, give each other space as well in the home. Many of us live in small enough spaces and we couldn't go further than 2 kilometers, so we kind of had to be creative around how we spent our time. There was lovely kind of ideas from parents. One parent talked about, and I know we're not encouraging this, but you had the picture in the background of jumping off the Salt Hill diving board, because she was asked what did she do maybe to come out of her comfort zone. And I think for children to see their parents having fun and enjoying themselves and seeing a different side of them where they're less busy, they're more playful, is hugely beneficial to children. And another thing that parents noticed was that their kids were a lot more capable than they thought they were, in terms of, one parent said that her daughter was well able to kind of keep things going in the house when she was working, say, as a frontline worker, and that children do benefit from independence. And I think if I can say one thing to parents now is, if you could encourage your child to do one thing today that you didn't let them do yesterday, I would encourage that, because kids benefit from free play, from freedom. I know it's harder to do that now, to just let your kids go out when you have to be careful about distancing and what's safe and not safe to do. But it's really important. I talked last night about boredom being a springboard for creativity. And when you get them off their screens, and, I suppose having the screen in a balanced way, but when you get them off it, and do get them off it, when you feel that it's enough, to kind of let them just be in the house rather than have to entertain them the whole time. So there was just an awful lot of learning from it. But I think the most important message I wanted to give to parents was that you're good enough as you are, and that kids don't need perfection, and that you are enough as their parent. And whilst you slowly reintroduce them to different things over this summer, to just be aware that you've survived the last few months and you can continue to survive it, and just to take little baby steps and to rely on the people around you to support you.
If, Malie, we were to look at how life evolved to the point you described earlier on about the 3 birthdays on a Saturday, the busyness, we talked about sports on a Saturday, all of that last night. That didn't happen just in one day. It evolved over a period of time.
Yeah.
From a period where, and I think in all that, there's been a heightened awareness of child protection, not letting your kids walk the streets to the football training, perhaps like we did when we were young, or certainly when I was young. And this kind of lifestyle built up that became very busy and demanding, as you've said. What can people do in a very real way to stop that just evolving step by step all over again?
Yeah.
I'm not saying to relax child protection, but to stop that thing, that the busyness that they created, they were so glad to lose, practically, or even maybe psychologically. What should they be doing?
I think, that is why we asked those questions last night about the challenges and then reflecting on the good things, because it's really important to not come out of this lockdown and this COVID time we've had without like, it's really important to reflect on the last few months. And that's why I mentioned last night, because one parent said, oh my God, like, if there's been many good things, but what if I go back to all that busyness again? I'm afraid that that might happen. And I can
Is there a sense of powerlessness that's going to creep up on you again? Is that their opinion?
There is, because there's an awful lot of pressure out there about all these activities for kids and all these birthday parties and different things they could be doing. And we want to nurture our children as much as we can. And that's a very natural thing to want as a parent. But I think what this time has given us a realization of is that they need less than we thought they needed, and that actually not having something on a Saturday or Sunday and staying in your pajamas till 2 o'clock and just having baking on, which is a lovely thing to do, or going for a cycle if the weather permits, or doing something very simple like playing a card game, that's enough, that you are enough as their parent. And that's why I mentioned last night that perhaps parents could sit at the dinner table with their kids and maybe say, I wonder, kids, I've been thinking that, I thought life was getting a little bit too busy over the last few months before the COVID virus. And I'm just wondering maybe if we could talk about what good things do you think happened over the last few months, and what good things would you like to bring into your life going forward? And they might well say, I mean, I know my kids, we were away for a few days lately, and they said to me, it's so nice, Mummy, when you don't have that busy head on you, or when I know that you're going to be more fun. Do you know what I mean? They know immediately. Do you know?
Yes, yes. Actually, I think when it comes to pajamas, maybe we could make Saturday the day we don't wear our pajamas all day. to flip it around.
I know.
Okay, so that's I think I get a very strong feeling from you that this is a crucial axis now. Where the thing is turning. COVID-19 has been multiple phases, as we all know. But
Yeah.
there's another turn now. The summer is here. The evenings are long. But winter or autumn will come around quick enough and back to school. But there are a lot of things people should be doing right now, so they don't just waste this time, I think.
Yeah, and I suppose you
Not
mentioned,
overloading them, obviously.
yeah, and I suppose you mentioned doing, and for me, like, to continue being, to continue learning to be, because that's what we've learned the last few months, is to be rather than to do all the time. And I know we all need that bit of structure in our lives. Otherwise, it's important, to kind of have maybe a rough idea in your head of what you would like. To an extent, if we get to do this today, that's great. If we don't, that's okay as well. But just to take the pressure off yourself as a parent, you don't need to be educating them anymore. You are educating them when you're spending time with them. And to try to, if you are working from home or parenting from work, as they say, to kind of, to maybe have that division where you kind of say to yourself, okay, well, I hope to get a little bit of me time at 4 o'clock today, and I'm going to prioritize getting that. So I'll need to ask somebody else to take the kids or to look after them for a second, or else let the kids be on the telly, or let them play for a while, or whatever. That you're kind of thinking in your head, what do I need today so that when I go to bed tonight, I feel like, that it's been, that it's been a kind of a healthy day for me, and emotionally healthy. Getting out and about when you can is really important, but just knowing that it's important to let your kids' brains turn to mush over the summer. That's okay. We all need periods of break, and I know some of us may not be financially able to go on a break, or don't feel like it's safe to go and stay somewhere, and that's fine too. But to have periods of rest, really clear periods of rest where you take time off and actually kind of think about how you want to spend that time. But don't berate yourself if on a particular day you don't get to do what you thought you were going to do. That's okay. We're all, it's okay. It's okay to change your mind and to say, well, actually, I'm going to stay home today and do such and such. Like, it's all okay. We're all going through this together. And I suppose that's the main message I wanted people to know, is that learning to be, this is something that we have really learned, and I really hope we can bring that forward.
This year, holidays, as you touched on there, are not as easily available, and people might feel, what's the point taking time off work because there's nowhere to go? And
yeah,
that, I presume, will cast a long shadow as well in terms of fatigue and burnout and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it will, Liam. There are, I suppose, there are some choices. I think people are becoming quite creative in ways about trying to get away for a few days, maybe like go and stay in, somebody's house, or go and camping, or, trying to do different things around Ireland. Yes, it is very hard not to have a holiday planned. I totally understand that. I think it's important, if you're not going somewhere, to have to have a few days off, maybe a couple of times over the summer, where you do switch off from work, where you're not checking your emails. It's so important. And to just have maybe, day things planned, small little things that make you feel like, and I know it's hard because it can be very weather dependent in Ireland, and we haven't had great weather in the last, couple of weeks, but to just try to create that break between work and home, because those boundaries have been blurred the last few months, and I think that's been really hard for parents. So you kind of have to create the boundary, because when August comes round, we're going to start getting into that mode of them going back to school, and they've been off for 6 months. It's going to be hard for kids to go back to school after 6 months. Some of them will run into school, and some of them will be more reluctant. So we'll have that to kind of be thinking about in August. So for the moment, I think for July, suppose just kind of forget about all that and just try, if you can, to, space out, carve out some time where you do get some relaxation for yourself and for your family. That's what I would say.
Very good. You touched on going away from your phones. If people want to learn more about that kind of thing, I'd recommend Cal Newport's Digital Minimalism.
Okay.
And I'll check out Cal Newport's stuff online. He writes a lot about switching off and why we need to, and doing deeper engagements with time, etc., rather than just flitting around the place. Is there any final words you'd like to offer parents who may have attended last night, or may not have indeed as well? This will be publicly available, in terms of how they can, I suppose, just keep getting through, keep on keeping on.
Just to say thank you to the parents who attended last night, and for everybody else out there, I think it's important for you to know that all feelings are okay. We're all going through this together. I know our family situations might be unique, but there are certain things that commonly help us, and that is looking after yourself as a parent, knowing that you're good enough, knowing you can repair things if things don't go to plan. Being gentle on yourself, being kind to yourself, and, seeking out connection with other people when you feel you're struggling, because we're all struggling to an extent, but trying to reframe the last few months. I talked last night about resilience being facing a manageable threat with you by their side, and children of this age, 6 to 11, even though they might pretend they don't rely on you and they're starting to look out to their friends as being their points of influence, they do still really rely on you as their support. And so this is an opportunity to teach them, or to create resilience with them, with you by their side, not always right there by their side, but for them to know that you're there to support them emotionally. If they have questions, even about the virus or about school or about that you discuss these things openly as a family. And if you don't have the answer to the question, just say, I'll get back to you on that. I really want to get back, and do get back to them on that. So I think just maybe trying to reframe this as an opportunity for creating resilience, as opposed to it all being doom and gloom. Although I know it's been really hard for parents, and I really want to acknowledge that, but there's also been opportunities. So for maybe parents out there to reflect on what the challenges have been and what the good things have been that you want to bring forward into the future.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Malie Coyne, clinical psychologist, and we encourage people to keep an eye on the Planet Youth website, planetyouth.ie, for further updates of this nature. Thank you very much, Dr. Coyne.
Thank you, Liam.